What is transparency? It's a word that we're hearing a lot. At one point, we've gone through a lot of words in this industry that have been kind of buzzwords, but I feel this is something more than a buzzword from all the things I've heard. But who would like to kind of kickstart and give their opinion on what transparency actually means in this industry?
Shall I have a go?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Go on, Nick, off we go.
Transparency is all about advertising effectiveness in my head. It is allowing advertisers, whoever they may be, to be able to make the right media investment decisions. And in order to do that, they have to have access to all of the relevant data, all the relevant research, understand all the money flows, know what monies are going where, but also know what advertising effectiveness looks like, what's working, what isn't working, how they analyze that through data and reporting. And they need to have complete visibility throughout their entire chain so that advertising is as effective and efficient as it possibly can be. So it covers a whole wide range of things and not just the money.
I would add to that. I think the money is an important part. It's an area that brands and agencies are incredibly focused on, but the concept of black box needs to go away as well. The inventory source, the quality of the content, the quantity of the content also needs to be fully transparent and exposed. So operating in a black box and using some methods of algorithms or other things to find audience without being fully transparent in terms of where your media will run is effectively not transparency, right?
I think for us, transparency is in three ways is how we look at it. Transparency around cost, so the entire value chain, and how does cost, the investment move from an advertiser to reaching the end consumer and engaging with them. So around cost, transparency around data. What are the data sources? Who is owning the data? How are we using data? Yeah, to again provide value and add value to the investments that we as advertisers make. And the third one is transparency around results, with a bunch of metrics that you would have decided as an industry or as an advertiser specific to your requirements. How are we delivering on those results? So these are the three areas that if we get a better visibility on, I believe we are moving in the right direction in terms of transparency.
I think the interesting point around the transparency piece is, from a brand, it actually starts a lot more with what's your strategy, what you're trying to achieve, because if you can't really brief your media partner very well, then actually they don't really know what they need to achieve. So from our perspective, I think we spend a lot more time now about who are the audience, what are the customer, where do we want them to go, what do we want them to achieve. Then we can hold our media partners much more accountable against that. I think if we're too woolly and vague up front, then they can be transparent with the data and the information, but actually what are you measuring it against? What are we trying to achieve as a brand? And I think that's, for us, where we've got really tighter internally in briefing and being clear about where we want that customer and what we want that customer to go on.
I think it's a very good point. It should be a two-way street. I think there are obligations on the client and their trading partners to be transparent in both directions, actually, and we don't always see that.
And then there's the transparency with the buyers and the technology. Yes. Are they telling you the right solution, or are they selling you the solution? And there's a transparency about openness about what is actually feasible.
And that's a big part. I think it's a really big point, because the technology companies have never really dealt with transparent media in many ways. It's not really part of their DNA. And especially if you look at ad tech, there's a whole heap of stuff that goes on in ad tech which is there to really optimize to a click and maximize to a margin. And if you do that, that's a problem, because you end up chasing very poor quality inventory and all that type of stuff. But it's very difficult for some companies, I think, to be able to explain what they do sometimes.
And for me, that point is all around transparency and operating methods. Yeah. I mean, as a brand or an IP owner, you're trusting intermediaries with your brand, with your livelihood, and you can't get the most out of that relationship unless you are completely clear around what methods you're using with that IP.